The night felt heavier than usual, thick with the scent of sage and pine resin carried on the restless wind. Ayana stood alone at the riverbank, where moonlight silvered the water like stretched ribbons of light. Behind her, the campfires of her tribe flickered through the trees, warm, familiar, filled with voices she had known since childhood. Every spark from those flames reminded her of memories, laughter shared inside buffalo-hide tents, stories of ancestors whispered beneath starlit skies, and the rhythm of drums that had been her heartbeat since birth. Tonight, however, those same drums sounded like warnings. Across the river waited Caleb Ward, sitting tall on his dappled grey horse, a silhouette carved against the open range. His presence was steady, quiet, almost stubbornly patient. He did not call out to her or move closer. He simply waited, yellow lamplight from his saddle lantern glinting off his hat brim, as if he knew she needed space to breathe before stepping into a life she could not return from. Ayana's fingers curled around the small carved pendant at her neck, gift from her mother, worn for protection. Am I ready to leave everything I am behind? The question pulsed in her mind like the war drums that had shaken the village. Earlier that evening, her father, Chief Tawakta, had declared the ranchers trespassers on sacred land. The council had agreed. War, they said, was inevitable. But Ayana had seen something different in Caleb. Kindness, hope, a future not built on bloodshed. She remembered the first time they met beneath a cottonwood tree, exchanging distrustful glances that slowly became curious smiles. How he taught her the names of his cattle the way she taught him the stories of the stars. How they discovered, quietly, that they did not have to be enemies. Now she stood at the crossroads of two worlds. One shaped her, the other called to her. Ayana stepped into the cold river, water swirling around her ankles, then her knees. On the opposite bank, Caleb's breath caught, not loud but enough for her to hear. She reached him, heart pounding like hooves across dry earth. His hand stretched out, rough and warm from years of ranch work. She hesitated only a heartbeat. Then she placed her hand in his. Caleb pulled her onto the saddle behind him, and together they rode into the moonlit hills, her tribe's drums fading like ghosts behind them, replaced by the unknown future racing beneath the hooves of a single horse. The morning after her choice, Ayana awoke to the sound of windmill blades creaking rhythmically in the breeze, a sound so different from the drum beats she once fell asleep to. The ranch stretched wide around her, vast rolling grasslands, barbed wire fences cutting across the earth like scars, cattle grazing lazily beneath the pale dawn. Caleb's cabin stood simple yet sturdy, built of rough-hewn timber and stone that still smelled faintly of cedar. This was her new world, wide open, uncharted. Caleb watched her from the porch as she stepped outside, wrapped in a wool blanket he had placed around her the night before. His smile was soft, proud, yet cautious, as if he feared one wrong word might send her galloping back to the river. "Sleep all right?" he asked, voice low and warm. She nodded. Though her chest ached with homesickness, she dared not voice. Her new home was peaceful, but the silence here was different. It echoed. Days turned into weeks, and Diana threw herself into ranch life with fierce determination. At dawn, she learned to herd cattle, riding through shimmering sunlit fields with Caleb at her side. She practiced mending broken fences, hammering nails with blistered hands, swallowing pain like grit between her teeth. In the afternoons, she helped tend the horses, braiding manes with fingers once skilled at, weaving willow branches and medicinal herbs. She learned the smell of rain before it fell, just as she once learned to read the hunt trail. But acceptance didn't come as easily as skill. Settlers whispered when she passed, some with admiration, many with fear or suspicion. In town, shopkeepers paused mid-conversation, eyes narrowing like shutters against a storm. "Rancher's girl," they called her. "Indian bride." Ayana felt each word like a stone thrown, a small but unshakable in its sting. Sometimes she walked past them with her chin high. Other times she bowed her head, wishing not to be seen at all. Yet Caleb's faith in her never wavered. Evenings were softer, the two sitting on the porch as stars bloomed across the sky. He would speak of dreams expanding the ranch, ending the conflict, building something lasting. She listened, leaning on his shoulder, though part of her heart remained across the river, where her tribe watched the horizon, waiting for her decision to bring peace or bring war. Ayana loved him. She chose this life, but her people had not chosen her back. And the weight of that truth grew heavier with every setting sun. The evening began like any other, the sky bleeding orange across the plains, and cicadas humming in the sagebrush. Calves bawling for their mothers as ranch hands guided them into the holding pens. Ayana stood just outside the barn, brushing down her mare Windrunner, the rhythm of the brush soothing her thoughts. Caleb was nearby repairing a gate hinge, whistling a tune she had come to recognize as his signal of calm. Everything seemed ordinary, peaceful, too peaceful. Then Ayana felt it, a prickling at the base of her neck, instinct born from a lifetime of listening to the earth rather than watching it. A shifting wind carried something faint but unmistakable, smoke, bitter and sharp. Not from cookfire or chimney, but from a forest or camp burning out of control. She froze, sniffed the air, and her heart lurched with recognition. "Caleb," she whispered. Before she could speak again, the distant horizon flickered, a line of fire dancing beneath the dusk. Like sunset set ablaze, moments later came the thunder of hooves. Dark silhouettes emerged, dozens of riders cutting across the plain with arrow-feathered lances and hunting bows glinting. In the dying light, her tribe, the warriors she once trained beside, the family she left behind. Caleb dropped his tools and reached for his rifle, his jaw tightening with the grim knowledge of what this meant. Ayana rushed forward, grabbing his arm before he could raise the weapon. "No," she pleaded, eyes fierce. "They came for me, not you." But the ranch hands were already scrambling, shouting, securing livestock, raising rifles toward the oncoming wave. Horses screamed as fear rippled through the barn, flames reflected in Ayana's wide eyes, memories flooding back, the dance of war paint, the weight of a spear, the lessons her father taught: fight for honor, fight for land, fight for blood. As the warriors surrounded the ranch, the world shrank to a circle of dust and fire. Her brother rode at the front, Talon, fierce as the hawk he was named after, braids whipping like black banners behind him. He pointed his spear toward Caleb. "You chose the enemy," he shouted, voice sharp as flint. "So you stand with them." Arrows tensed, guns cocked, one spark, and either side would become wildfire. Ayana stepped forward, her heart pounding like a war drum reborn. She lifted an old spear she hadn't touched since leaving her people, the wood worn smooth beneath her palm, familiar as breath. Then she raised her voice so all could hear. "Stop! Let our hands decide, not our hatred." The fires roared behind her, but neither side moved. The storm was no longer coming. It had arrived. The air crackled with a tension thicker than dust. Torches hissed in the dark, their orange glow washing across hardened faces. Tribal warriors on one side, ranch hands on the other. Ayana stood between them, spear in hand, her breath fogging faintly in the cooling night. Every gaze locked onto her, waiting to see if she would break or stand. She felt Caleb's worry at her back like a shadow, and her brother's rage before her like fire itself. Talon dismounted slowly, boots thudding against the packed dirt. His raven-feathered braid swung down his shoulder as he stepped forward, muscles drawn tight, jaw set like carved stone. "You left us," he hissed. "Left your people, left your blood. And for what? A man who fences the land of our ancestors." Pain laced his voice deeper than anger. "Prove yourself. Fight me." No one breathed. Ayana nodded once, silent acceptance. They formed a ring around the two siblings, dust swirling like spirits in the torchlight. Ayana tightened her grip on the spear, feeling memory guide her stance, knees loose, weight balanced, wind as her pulse. Talon lunged first, fast as a striking hawk. Wood clashed against wood, the sound sharp enough to cut through the night. Caleb called her name, but she did not waver. She could not. Sparks flew from the torches as the siblings circled, each strike echoing with years of shared childhood, of hunts and laughter turned to bitterness. Talon fought to dominate. Ayana fought to end the cycle. Her arms burned, lungs seared, but she refused to raise the killing blow. When Talon's spear glanced her shoulder, drawing blood, she swallowed the cry that rose in her throat. Then she saw it, an opening. With a twist of her body, she hooked Talon's spear aside and swept his legs out from under him. In one smooth motion, she pinned him to the dirt, her spearhead pressed to his throat. Gasps rippled across both tribesmen and settlers alike. Talon's chest heaved beneath her, eyes wide not with fear but disbelief. Silence fell like snow. She could end him and end the war, or she could choose another path. Ayana's voice was steady as she lifted the spear away. I choose life. I choose peace. We share this land, not as enemies but as one. Her words shivered through the crowd like wind through tall grass. Bows lowered, rifles dropped to boots. Even Talon, humbled beneath her, gave a slow, reluctant nod. The impossible happened. The fires dimmed. Hatred loosened its grip. And under the vast western sky, Ayana became more than a daughter of a tribe or the wife of a rancher. She became the bridge between worlds,